welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB, joined by my co-host, producer extraordinaire, and everything in between, Jody. What's up, Jody?
What's good, TB? How you been, G?
Bro, been pretty good. I'm pretty tired right now. I got a lot going on. Coaching.
Yeah, you got the late shift because of
Coach.
me. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, bro. It's not even that. It's like, I'm coaching basketball and I'm coaching track and get myself ready for spring football.
Track?
Yeah, I do it
Damn,
all.
that
I do it
too.
all, baby. Yeah, I do it all, baby. So I got a lot going on right now, but with all that being said, still managing to watch enough NFL football to be able to talk it, hopefully at a high level today. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. Wasn't really impressed with the divisional round. I don't know. What'd you think?
It definitely could have been better for sure, but still along the way, there's still people shining, people putting on for their team as best they can, even when it's not looking very favorable for them.
It was definitely some players and some teams that came out and played really well. Like, don't get me wrong, it was impressive, but in terms of the competitiveness of the games, I mean, we basically had 3 duds and 1 pretty good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't even say Jacksonville, Kansas City was fun. It was fun. It was
close
a fun.
for a while. Like it was still in striking distance.
It
but
was a
they
fun
couldn't do it.
watch.
Yeah.
It was a fun watch. Those 2 games in the middle that I was really thinking Giants, Eagles, and Bills, Bengals. Those 2 games were awful, man. There weren't really great watches. I mean, Giants, Eagles ended up turning off entirely because it was so bad. At least Bills, Bengals got to kind of kept watching just because it was Josh Allen and they were at home, and you thought maybe. It just
And the
never
snow,
happened. Just
a
never
lot of
happened.
factors.
And then Cowboys Niners was probably the game of the week. I mean, that was
yeah.
the best game and had some fun moments, and definitely the crazy part about that one is the whole game. I don't know how you felt watching it, but while I was watching it, I never actually thought the Cowboys would win. Like the whole time, I was pretty sure the Niners were still going to win it. I would have been very surprised how the Cowboys finished that game and by actually winning it. There wasn't a moment where I was like, the Niners are in trouble. It was a competitive football game, but I always just felt like the Niners still had control of it. But yeah, I mean, this NFC and AFC championship, I do think we've got the 4 best teams, though. I will say that.
Yeah,
I think we've
definitely.
we've whittled it down, and it's the right outcome. That doesn't always happen in football. Teams get hot and make runs late, and this year, I think it's really legitimately what were the 4 best teams over the course of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. The only thing I will say is out of all of them, I think the Bengals had just the slowest start. Everyone else, you kind of seen them. They were doing well all year, and the Bengals were the ones that maybe they weren't as good as we thought they were from last year, but they ended up they got hot once they got Joe Burrow back and been hot ever since.
And the Niners, they had a bit of a slow start too, but they had so many injuries early that it was you could kind of see that they were going to be better than what their early record said. The Bengals, early on it looked like they might be in real trouble, and then righted the ship, and Burrow stopped taking sacks, and since then everything's been different. But you want to give out some awards for this divisional round playoff week?
Yeah, let's do it. It's been a little bit of time since we've done some, so let's get into those. So starting off, we got our gamer of the week, the Tukwa gamer of the week, if we want to be very specific. I'll let you go ahead and go first on this one.
Yeah, my gamer of the week award, I'm using mine to shout out Chad Henne. My man came in off the bench cold, literally cold, in a divisional playoff game, and he went 5 for 7, only 23 yards, but he threw a touchdown to Travis Kelce, capped off a 98-yard touchdown drive. I just thought it was really impressive. For one, Chad Henne played at Michigan like almost 20 years ago now. Guy's been in the league forever. You talk about Brady being in the league for a long time. Chad Henne's not that far behind him.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Henne's been in the league feels like forever, and I just thought it was impressive that for as long as it's been since he's actually played competitive football consistently, for him to be able to come in, command the offense, lead them down the field 98 yards, throw a touchdown pass in a playoff game where it was so critical. And the difference in the game was 7 points. You could argue that his drive was the difference in the game. And I just thought that was impressive. I think that's the definition of a gamer. It's just
Yeah,
when the
stepping up when you need to.
exactly, like next man up mentality. Like, man, that's exactly what you want from your backup quarterback. I don't think you could ask for much more. So really impressive for Chad Henne. Gamer of the week for me.
Yeah, that's a good pick for sure. For me, I'm going, I could have made this guy my dog, stuck with my theme over there, but I'm giving him the gamer this week. And little preview, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you got going on later in the show. But I'm giving mine to Joe Mixon. We got 20 carries from the man, 105 yards rushing, touchdown, and then a couple catches for 18 yards. Just, it was a snowy game. He stepped up in the run game. He had some very nice runs early on too. He was banging them out for like 10, 12 yards. Like it wasn't like he was just pounding them 5 yards each time for that average. He was getting streaky, getting out in the open space. And it definitely helps out Joe Burrow with him being in the snow. Like that's what you need. You need the run game to work when the weather's not working for you too well. So I'm giving mine to Joe Mixon this week.
I like it, bro. I like it. Let me throw you the alley on the next one, bro. We got Jody's dog of the week. Who you got? Who's your dog of the week, bro?
This was a very easy one for me. It's been a couple weeks since something tragic happened to the man, and he shows up for the team out there in the bad weather, as I mentioned. We got Damar Hamlin. Just nothing says more dog of the week than that. Like the guy pulls up for the game, shows up in the locker room, pulls out for the squad. Just even in like the minimal time he's had to recover, my guy showed up, and that right there speaks for a true dog, and that just shows me he's ready for next year. He's getting ready for some play time if it's allowed with his like chest issues, but true dog right there. And if I was gonna give one to someone in the games, I was looking at our guy Rayshawn Jenkins from the Jaguars. He was, from what I seen, I don't know if it was his hair flying out everywhere, but he was definitely making a lot of tackles on defense for that squad, flying around like when they were running, he was there crashing deep on the O line. Like if it was a pass, he was swarming at the ball. I don't know. He was also doing very well for that defense.
Yeah, I like Rayshawn Jenkins. He was a guy before the season that I didn't know who he was, but he has played himself into some serious cash in the next, when he gets his next contract, the way he's played this year. Because straight up, yeah, he had a really good year. As far as Damar Hamlin goes, I think it was a great pick. Really good to see him at the stadium.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was a cool moment when the whole stadium was standing up clapping for him, and he was just like hitting everybody with the one love,
The heart,
So
yeah.
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
All right, pushing forward, we got the minor setback for a major comeback. The typical, something might happen, didn't go favorable, but they're gonna bounce back. What you got?
Yeah, so I was looking at this one. This is a tougher award to give this week just because everyone who's playing still, they're playing well, theoretically. There wasn't anyone who had like an awful kind of game and then, showed up, showing up this week feeling like they got something to prove. I think, you know, I think the cherry picker might have been like Mahomes because he was hurt and
Yeah.
like, hey, minor setback. He's going to come back, play really well this week. But a guy who I was actually really looking at was actually Christian McCaffrey. He only had 10 carries for 35 yards. He did score a touchdown against the Cowboys, but just wasn't the games he's been having since he got traded to San Francisco.
Oh
I do
yeah.
know he's dealing with an injury. I think it's a groin, and saw him on the injury report this week. But I also saw a report that said there's 0% chance that he's not playing. So, you know, I think that tells you all you need to know. He's playing, and I expect he'll have a better game. And if they're gonna beat the Eagles, he has to be better than 10 for 35. So, I would guess that you're gonna see a lot more of Christian McCaffrey this week.
Yeah, that is definitely low production for the man since that trade for sure.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't the prettiest thing for him, but that guy, he always performs. We'll see something for sure this coming up week, especially in the
facts.
big game.
Next one, we got the Strahan Munoz Big Fella Award. Jody, I'll let you go first on this one.
Ooh, okay, so this week, I think I gave it to this man earlier in the year. I think he scored a touchdown. I think. Oh, he had the chalupa, right? This was him.
No, no, no. That was our guy Thibodeau.
Oh,
Josh
okay,
Sweat
okay.
had didn't he have like the pick, but he didn't score or something? It was something
I think
funky
it
against
was
the Cowboys, right?
yeah, I
He
think I
picked
remember
it, but
now.
he didn't
He picked
score.
it, but he was like he went to bat it down and it fell in his arms, that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we
So
we're
yeah,
like, hey,
Josh Sweat, that's my guy. You alluded to it. Yeah, same thing this week, bro. Where's my notes before I miss my things? So yeah, I seen him dropping the coverage. He was covering the back on a little like bubble screen. I seen a play where he held the edge and made the back cut back and his whole squad swarmed on him. Like I
mhm,
saw good things out of this man. He even had a sack on a play. Like the pocket just collapsed and then what's his face step forward. The quarterback stepped forward in the pocket and he jumped on him. Like I saw got a good plays from this guy. And then I want to give a quick shout out to Hassan Reddick on the other side of the ball.
mm.
Them two were just going after. If it wasn't him, it was probably Hassan on the other side. They were both doing a good team. Good job with the teamwork out there.
Yeah, that's no, nice little segue because Josh Sweat is actually gonna show up in, some film study later, a play he made
Mhm.
against the Giants, and we may be talking about how he sets an edge and how he can contribute to the Eagles versus that 49er run game. So, my big fella award goes to I couldn't even this is a lot very similar to when I gave it to the Dolphins offensive line. I gave it to the whole Bengals offensive line just because they played excellent in their big win against the Bills. Even going back and watching the all 22, they were just dominant. They were road graders. They ran for 172 yards. They ran a lot of power and counter stuff where they're pulling,
Yeah,
OG and they're pulling tackle and guard together. And it just everything they were trying to do up front just seemed like it was working. They kept Joe Burrow clean. Only sacked one time for a 2-yard loss. They dominated, really, really dominated a Von Millerless Bills front, but nonetheless, they also were missing guys. They had all their backups in the game, right? They had
yeah,
multiple backups in the lineup, and so it's just very impressive performance for them. Especially when you consider what they looked like in the playoffs last year. They were winning those games, but Joe Burrow's
was
taking
on the ground a
7
lot.
sacks and,
Yeah,
being hit 12 times, and this was not that whatsoever. So I just give a lot of credit to the Bengals offensive line, and again, that kinda seemed like it was a bit of a theme, if you look through our
mhm,
awards, but that next man up mentality, and this is that time of year where, late in the season, guys are gonna get hurt. The guys play hard. It's a physical game, guys are gonna get hurt. You
you're at
need
game 20, 21 ish.
Yeah,
It's
you need
bound to
your
happen.
depth. You need your depth to step up, and that's why you always hear coaches talk about that next man up mentality, and so I think the Bengals epitomized that with their offensive line this week against the Bills.
Yeah, quick shout out on the Bengals O line. I talked about it last week. Our guy Hakeem being on the right tackle.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've seen, but your guy Whitworth tweeted out like, "Hey, Hakeem and I don't some other dude on the O line. I don't remember his name. Forgive me, but he was like, y'all. They thought they needed me. Y'all are doing great out there. Keep it up, fellas. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a great testament to the O line being able to step up,
facts.
as you said.
Mhm.
All right, let's keep pushing. We got our Who's Cooking Award could be good food, that filet mignon type deal, or it could be, you got you got some cereal out there with maybe almond milk. You don't even got regular milk.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, we're at the point where I think for the most part, all these quarterbacks remaining are cooking on that gas stove, bro.
Yeah.
They're cooking. It's like mom's home cooking right now. I'm going with Jalen Hurts. Straight cook the Giants, bro.
Yeah.
Like cook the Giants so bad they won the game 38-7, and his numbers don't even look great because they like called off the dogs in the second half. Like he he had 4 yards passing. He had 2 passing touchdowns. He had 32 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. So in total, he accounted for nearly 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And again, they're not giant numbers, but when you consider that they had such a big halftime lead and they weren't really pushing the ball down the field in the second half, it's pretty impressive. And they really didn't need to be more than what they were because his team got a dominating win. So Jalen Hurts, especially coming off the injury, the shoulder injury, he hadn't really played a whole lot of football in the previous month. He just played that one final regular season game against the Giants. And I think it was really, really important for him to have that kind of game to make it feel like, okay, Philly is right back where they left
Yeah.
off before
Then
he
they
got
haven't
hurt.
skipped a beat.
Haven't skipped a beat at all. So, yeah, Jalen Hurts, he's cooking with gas.
No, definitely. For me, I'm going our guy Joey B, Joe Burr, Joe Shiesty, whatever you want to call this man,
Joe
bro.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's a man of multiple names, that's for sure. He threw for 240. He went 23 for 36, 2 TDs. Like I mentioned earlier, bad weather. And he outperformed the guy who's played in that weather, Josh Allen. He went 25 for 42, 264 and a pick, not even a TD.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think that's a great display as to how overcoming the adversity of weather, whatever situation you want to call it, they're just being able to cook out there with that. He was sizzling, you know what I mean? He was so hot the ice was or the snow was melting on him, you know what I mean? And then I
Hey,
think we skipped one, but we could backtrack a little bit. We call it the no cap, hats off, Some might not believe the play or, you're clapping up to something that was crazy.
oh, yeah, yeah, I got this one for you, bro. I got this one for you. Before we get there, I did wanna just kinda tie together who's cooking in the Strahan Munoz big fella. I got a
Yeah,
coach who's
big
cooking, and
Ooh,
it's the Bengals
Taylor?
O-line coach. The Bengals
Oh, okay.
O-line coach, just because, you know, I talked about how well they played with backup guys in, so his name is Frank Polek. Um, guy, crazy thing is he was the Cowboys O-line coach from 2015 to 17. I don't know if you remember, but that was about the time where the Dallas O-line was really cooking.
That was
One of the
when
better
Zeke was out there running
O-lines.
over everyone.
It was one of the better O-lines in the league at the time. So, and now he's doing this with the Bengals O-line, just really impressive. Good for him. Wanted to shout him out. But in terms of no cap, hats off, play of the week. I mean, this has to go to the Cowboys. That last play of the game has been one of the most talked about things. So it's crazy, right? You look at the Cowboys and it's like they end the playoffs last year with the crazy spike
Yeah.
gate, if you will, right? Spike gate. And everything goes wrong there, and the clock management is awful. And that was clearly much worse. Much worse. But the way they ended the game this year was also not great. It wasn't a great look. Now, so they line up where they have it looks like they're trying to set up like a lateral play, right?
Yeah,
So they
definitely.
line up, Zeke is the center, snapping to Dak. And they've got half their O-line and the numbers on one side, half their O-line on the numbers on the other side, and their skill players are kind of all jumbled around and like behind the O-line, but then also they got like Turbin in the slot. And they throw the ball up the middle for like, I don't know, 8 yards to Turpin. And then, like, before he can really do anything with it and we can see, like, what this whole play was supposed to be, he just gets tackled, and then it's just game over. And then everyone's talking about Zeke after he snaps the ball, he gets straight bodied,
Yeah.
and he gets put on his back, and then, like, I don't know, and then the whole thing, and then it's just game over. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Wait, what were they trying to do?" I think, they got a lot of hate for it. I'm assuming that the play was just not quite executed. I don't know what they were trying to set up, but I
Yeah.
know it was clearly not that. And then, of course, it became like a joke on social media, and everyone had fun with it. But you know, I I will say this: I don't mind coaches trying to be different in a last play scenario like that, where you've got to get 70 yards. Like you have to go different and have a
Yeah.
play set up. I worked for a head coach that had we had a last play that was called circus. And it was set up where the laterals were scripted.
Oh.
So it was like you set up your O-line blocking here, and it was like there was a lateral to set up, and eventually there was a thing where you get it to the quarterback specifically, and the quarterback was the one that was gonna throw it all the way back across the field
Mm.
after about 4 laterals. So it was definitely, like, really scripted, and you tried to the idea was to try and get the defense to one side of the field, and
And
then
then the
eventually get to
lone
the
guy on the other
quarterback
side takes
and
off.
get it all the way back to the guy on the backside with a couple blockers in front of him, and we practiced it every week.
Wow.
Like, every week, it was part of our, Thursday walkthrough or Friday walkthrough before the game, and yeah, every week. So, yeah, he called it circus. Shout out to Coach Parker, but we would, yeah, we did that every single week and never actually got to use it, but if we ever did do it, like, you had it ready.
Yeah.
So, I'm
That's
sure
great.
this is, like, one of those things for the Cowboys that I'm sure it wasn't a random thing. It wasn't like I'm sure they've, like, practiced this before, and it just wasn't executed the way that they drawn it up, but
Anticipated. Yeah.
of course, that becomes the meme and the funny joke for everyone else to laugh at. So I'm not really, I'm not mad at Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy on that one. I'm sure they were trying to do something a little different, and it just didn't go the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, no, I mean, one quick note on this play. Had the play before gone better, my guy gets both feet in bounds, they don't even have to pull this out. They could go standard Aaron Rodgers, throw it to the end zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy play. I wish we would have been able to see more of it, but ultimately our guy caught the ball and was like, "Oh, open field. Boom."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty much what happened. It was just caught it, smoked. So, yeah. But are we ready to move on to the championship round?
Yeah, bro, let's get into it. We got game 1. We got the Eagles and the Niners coming out at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, wherever you may be watching, you know what I mean? Well, I'll let you get into some notes, and then I can spit a little bit of mine. I
Yeah,
wanna
yeah,
hear
yeah.
from you. Let's see.
Yeah, let's go bar for bar right now, bro.
Oh,
Bar
okay.
for bar. So, I'll give you this, the Eagles and 49ers have only met in the playoffs one time, Jody. Do you know the year that happened?
One time, Imma say
It
probably
was a
Andy
great
Reid
year.
is there.
It was a great year, bro. You know why?
Why?
A star was born during this year, 1996.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I see where we're
1996.
going now. Dang, that
So,
was wild.
the 49ers won that game in Candlestick Park 14-0 in 1996. That's the only time that these two teams have ever played in the playoffs. It's the first time they've ever met at the Link, right, in Philly. So this is going to be a historic game when you think about it like that. It's just never happened. We've never seen 49ers at the Eagles in the playoffs, let alone an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's some crazy stats. For me, I looked at their schedule for the year, and I was like, they were bound to play each other, I'm assuming, right? Wrong. Completely wrong. The only thing they have in common is some teams they played. It was the Commanders and the Bears. For the Niners, they beat the Commanders 37-20, and they lost to the Bears 19-10. That was the game, if you remember, our guy Justin Fields sliding in the end
Yeah,
zone.
Justin
That
Fields.
was
Yeah.
week 1. And then for the Eagles, they I wish I wrote this down better. I think they lost to the Commanders 32-31. Don't quote me.
Correct.
Could be the other
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And then they beat the Bears 25-20. And so you can do what you want with that information, but that's the only thing they had in common from the year.
Little knowledge drop. Like, do with that what you will, huh?
Yeah.
So I'll come back and give you this. I think two of the most consistent teams in the NFC throughout the year, like the two most consistent teams. I would say Shanahan and Sirianni, both really offensive-minded head coaches. But I also think they both have rock star defensive coordinators who have been getting a lot of head coaching interviews, and that's DeMeco Ryans and Jonathan Gannon. So I think it's a fun coaching matchup because I am really curious to see Sirianni's offense versus DeMeco Ryans' defense, Shanahan's offense versus Gannon's defense, and how those two things will match up. I mean, it's a really schematically, this is a fun game to watch. Like, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a fun thing to watch, the chess match between these two coaching staffs because it's a real one. And quite frankly, I don't want to get into the other game yet, but like both games feature really awesome coaching matchups that I think where guys are going to be creative. They're going to be doing different things, both defensively and offensively, to try and mess with the other team and gain whatever advantage that they can. So I definitely think we're going to see some creativity from both sides, both coaching staffs.
Yeah, I didn't have any more notes than those 2 bullet points I threw out earlier, but one thing I will say is this game, when it came down to who I think was gonna win, it was a toss-up the whole time. I still don't really know, but, I'll let you get into your key points, and then I could throw you out my 2 quick ones that we kinda talked about last week too still.
Yeah, we'll get some key points and maybe show a little film, and then we can go prediction for prediction here.
Let's do it.
The biggest question I have going into this game is, can the Eagles stop the creativity and explosiveness of the 49ers running game? The Eagles this year ranked 24th in run defense. They gave up 4.6 yards a carry, whereas the Niners are a top 10 running offense, rushing for 4.7 yards a carry. So if we do the math, the Niners are going to be able to run the ball for 4 to 5 yards a carry if these two teams are who they were in the regular season. I don't think that's a recipe for success for Philly. You know, if you just let the
Yeah.
Niners run the ball for 4 or 5 yards a pop, it's going to be really hard to put Brock Purdy in situations where he can mess it up. So I really am curious to see, can the Eagles do it? And if so, how? I think there's a world where they can do it. I'm just curious to see how they're going to do it. You know, whether they're going to stack the box and dare Purdy to beat him, or you know what mix of players they use and what they do up front to try and negate, because the Niners are just so creative, and that's what our film study for this game is going to focus around,
Uh-huh.
is that 49er run game, because it's just it's very similar to it's similar but different to what we talked about the Ravens a couple weeks ago. The Ravens just incorporate the quarterback in a way that no one else does.
Yeah.
The 49ers incorporate fullbacks in a way that just no one else does right now, or at least not as consistently. So it'll be fun to watch that. But my second key is going to be whether the 49ers can get pressure on Jalen Hurts. So now this kind of flips, right? Jalen Hurts was
Yeah.
26th in the league, completing only 34.5% of his passes when he was under pressure, according to a website I found called Player Profile Advanced Stats. And the 49ers were 11th in sacks this year with 44. Philly was actually an all-time great defense in
Yeah.
terms of creating sacks this year. So
Yeah,
Philly,
70, right?
yeah, Philly was unbelievable. Like, imagine that Philly had 70 and they were first. The Niners were 11th and they had 44. Think of, like, it's like half.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
only like 60% of that production, and that's only 10 spots lower. It's unbelievable. But in terms of, you know, we've watched a lot of film this year on the Niners and how they create pressure up front with just 4, right? Running all the different games that they run.
Mhm.
And that's going to be, you know, this Eagles offensive line is really good. Jalen Hurts is really good at escaping pressure. And so the 49ers are going to have to use that creativity, and they're going to lean on Bosa. You know, Bosa's going to have to be big. They're going to have to create pressure on Hurts because that stat I just gave you. When he's truly under pressure, he's not nearly the level of quarterback that he is when, he has a clean pocket or he's able to escape. So they've got to keep him in the pocket, and they have to contain him, and then they have to put pressure on him and make him make those throws under pressure. And then the last key here, I just think, is Brock Purdy. I don't think he's played in a game like this yet. He's played in 8 NFL games now. Only 2 have been on the road, and those 2 road games were Seattle and Vegas. Vegas is not even – you can't even compare what this is going to be. Seattle, that environment, on a Thursday night game, that's pretty, a pretty interesting or unique situation. But it's not the Link in January for an NFC title game, nor is it against the level of defense that the Eagles play versus what the Seahawks were playing, especially at that time. So he's never been in this moment, this kind of situation against this kind of defense in this environment, which is not to say that I think he's going to play bad, because he surpassed every expectation and has passed every test so far. But if he plays above his head, the 49ers can win, right? But if he plays really bad, they can get absolutely blown out. And we've seen what that looks like. Ask Minnesota a few years ago what their NFC Championship game in Philly was like. So, which guy are we going to see? I thought he did do a better job. I kind of talked about against the Seahawks. I thought he played a little bit too loose, a little too much hero ball. I thought he did a better job of reeling it in against the Cowboys. He did still have some moments, though, where you still saw it kind of show up, and it didn't cost them, though. So he's got to be smart. Can't do too much, but he's going to have to make a couple plays when they need him to if the Eagles are able to not allow them to run the ball like they want to, which is why that was a big key for me going in. Any of that sound relevant or different than what you were thinking?
No, I would agree with the Brock Purdy very much so. I had written down they need to get pressure on the guy. Talked about it last week. He's a rookie. You get pressure on him, you might get a little flustered, especially with that the 12th man they have out there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Philly fans go crazy all the time. That's going to play a key factor to how this turns out, and we never know. Maybe it ends up snowing too, just to sprinkle a little bit something on how it could be in January at the Link.
Could be a white NFC Championship game.
And then my other note for the Eagles, though, I had that they got to do well passing the ball. They only had 150 yards, like you said last week. They didn't need much more. It all played out very well for them. But we've seen their run game do well. It's just a matter of them being able to do it with the ball,
Yeah.
Because if the D line can contain that our guy Jalen Hurts in the pocket, he's gonna have to make plays with his arms. He can't be out there scrambling and rush for that first or whatever yards he gets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I want to look at, especially for that first key, I want to look at this play from the Niners game in the divisional round against the Cowboys. We're going to look at a couple of run clips that the Niners had against the Cowboys. We'll also look at the Eagles defending a similar kind of run against the Giants, and so we can kind of see how these two teams match up. This first one, we've got 2nd and 7. It's in the second quarter. 2nd and 7 from the -21. So the big thing I want to point out is just the personnel for the 49ers, right?
Yeah, it looks wild right now.
So this is a different kind of look, right? So this is what we call pro slot. So you've got George Kittle lined up in line over here at the Y, right? At the F, this is Kyle Juszczyk, the all-pro fullback that they have, right? He's a fullback.
Mhm.
He's just on the hip. Your traditional fullback, right, always like to line up in like the I or just offset. All they've done with the fullback now is they love to put those guys on the hip, right on the hip of the tackle. Okay, so he's there. This is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, crazy.
Lined up out here, right? That's Christian McCaffrey lined up out there. playing playing slot receiver right now. Brandon Ayuk is lined up to the bottom of your screen underneath outside of McCaffrey and off the ball. And then back in the backfield, dotting the pistol is Debo. So you can just see how different and unique the 49ers are able to line up with their personnel. I mean, those 5 skill players on the field right now for the Niners are arguably 4 out of the 5 are arguably the best at their position. Like Kittle, arguably at the best tight end, at least top 5. Juszczyk, I don't even know if it's an argument. He's the best fullback in the league. McCaffrey, he's probably one of the better and more versatile running backs in terms of you can put him at running back, you can put him at slot kind of players in the league. And the other guy who fits right in that mold, who's primarily more a receiver, but can go back there and play running back is Debo. It's like those guys are interchangeable. And then you throw out another talent like Ayuk, who's just a true receiver, the one true receiver they have on the field right now. So those are their 5 guys. They can line up those guys in almost any combination that they want, and it's dirty. It's super dangerous because as a defense, you never know how those guys are going to line up. You just know they're in 21 personnel, but they can line up in spread or however they want to do it, right? They could put Kyle Juszczyk in the backfield next to Purdy and go 2-by-2 and split Kittle and Debo out to one side and McCaffrey and Ayuk to another if they want to. So you have to defend everything, right? So from a personnel standpoint defensively, their personnel is so versatile that you have to find a way to get your best personnel on the field that is also that versatile. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
if they're out there in 21 personnel, but they line up in a spread set, you don't want your big guys on the field, right? You want to be in a nickel look. You want to be in a sub package. But if you're in that sub package and then they line up like this, where everything's tight and condensed, well, now you're asking a guy like number 27 here, Kearse, to play in the box as like a backer, even though he's really a nickel. So it's really that's what's so hard about playing the 49ers is they're just so multiple offensively. And then they do stuff like this to you in the run game. So we're going to watch what they do. They're going to run just power, right? But it's GT. So they're going to pull and kick with the guard, and they're going to pull and wrap behind him with the tackle. And that tackle who's wrapping, that's Trent Williams. All pro. Put some respect on his name, Trent Williams. Like, that's the other thing. They've got all this versatility with all those guys, but then you combine that with a guy like Trent Williams at tackle who can pull and do a number of things that you want him to do. And, man, Kyle Shanahan does such a good job of using the versatility of all these guys. So you're going to see guard's going to pull and kick, tackle's going to pull and wrap. Everyone else is just going down, down, down across, right? It's going to be like a wave of everyone else coming down this way. All right, so we'll watch it. Ayuk goes in motion, right? Now, the Cowboys don't really adjust here to the motion like you might want. And boom, look at this. Body is on bodies. Debo's out in the open field. I'll give this safety credit from the Cowboys. He comes up and lays hat on Debo Samuel. That's a really good play from a safety. Can't really coach it better. Yeah.
Guy Debo still didn't go down. They blew the play dead, and then he ends up on the ground.
Yeah.
No one's harder to tackle than that guy for sure.
No question. Yeah. As terms of receivers, yeah, he's that guy in terms of trying to bring him down. And that's why I say it's such an impressive play by the safety. You look at it from the behind angle, and again, Juszczyk is going to seal Micah Parsons. He actually has a really great block here. This is probably the toughest block because Micah has the edge on him. Play side. Yep. So if Micah squeezes and follows that tackle, he can make the play in the backfield. So Juszczyk actually has one of the tougher blocks in this play because he doesn't have the angle, and he's got to do a really good job of getting inside and digging Micah Parsons out so he can't make the play from the backside. But then from there, it's center, block back on the 2 technique. Guard, he's going to work his way back. He's even going to put his hands on the 2 and work all the way back to 27 here. The tackle is going to work all the way down across the face of the 3 technique to Leighton Vander Esch, and he's actually going to have a pretty decent block here. And then Kittle is going to block down on the 3 technique, leaving the 6 technique head up over Kittle, and the Mike backer over here unblocked for the kick and wrap players. Right, so we'll watch it again here. From the behind, you get the motion. boom, kick wrap, and you see, oh, whoops, not that. You see the lane that they've created, right? Where just everyone is a body on a body. Juszczyk doing his job on
Hey,
Parsons.
check our guy 27. He's out in the air. That's tough.
Yeah, it's he's getting bodied right now. I mean, they're just everyone is hat for hat, man on man, and now it's just Debo versus this safety. And I'll tell you, the Niners are going to take that every time. But again, this safety makes a great play. Like this could easily have been a touchdown or a 15-yard gain or a 20-yard gain. It was only a 6-yard gain, but these are the kind of plays that the Niners consistently take and make explosive plays. And this is just a great play by the safety coming in to make that and make sure that he did not go farther than what he did. All right. So we got another play later in the game. All right. This is 1st and 5. This is actually in the 4th quarter and a crucial drive for the 49ers. And now, again, it's the same personnel in the field. So, bottom of the screen, we've got Kittle. Now, he's basically in a bunch look right here with Brandon Ayuk and Juszczyk, again, sitting on that hip. I told you they love putting him there. On the single set side away from everyone is Debo by himself. And then you've got Christian McCaffrey, who's actually in the backfield now, making it a 4-strong look with these guys, right? We call this pro slot open with the king hip position, right? He's king because he's same side as these other 2 receivers. And then the back is even offset strong to the king side. So it would even be what we would call like a king stack, where the back is stacking the hip defender or the hip player. That
Bro,
makes sense?
I think you just came up with the great Burger King burger right there.
The king stack, dude. Yeah. There you go, the king stack. So they're gonna motion Kittle, right? But you're gonna watch. So this is the crazy thing. They're gonna run basically the same play I just gave you, but they're gonna run their pullers. This time it's gonna be Juszczyk and Kittle. So
Okay.
they're gonna block back with everyone else, but now Kittle and Juszczyk are essentially gonna be the pullers in the power scheme, right? So they run Kittle in motion so that he can get the running start, and he's going to be the one that kicks out on Vander Esch over here, who's on the line of scrimmage. So now you see Dallas kind of countered, right? Before they were in a 4-man front in the last play. They're in an over front. They just had a 2 technique instead of a 1. And now they're going to be in a 5-man front, right? Really, where they're going to play in 3-0-3, what we call Denver, up front with their D line, and then 2 edge defenders, which are actually Lawrence and Vander Esch. And they actually played Micah Parsons off the ball, hoping that he could be the one getting over the top. But again, because of the way the Niners play their personnel, this is a DB, this is a nickel playing in the box right now because they force you to do that because of their personnel. It's just so hard to match their personnel in a different way. Like if you put a real linebacker on the field, they're going to crush
Gonna
you
smoke
and yeah, they're going to
beat
crush you
him
in the
deep.
pass game. Just like you're in a no-win situation as a coordinator when you're talking about your personnel. So you have to ask that guy to play tough in the run game. So we'll watch what happens. Here you go. You're going to get the kick and wrap from Kittle and Juszczyk. So Kittle, the motion man, is going to be the kick. He's going to kick out on Vander Esch. And then Juszczyk is going to wrap for the first backer who shows in the alley. Kick, wrap, boom. Christian McCaffrey running through like a freight train, right? And again, we'll see it from the behind, get a better look at it. So Trent Williams, he's going to block down on DeMarcus Lawrence, right? The guard, he's going to block down on the 3 technique, right? Then the center and the backside guard are going to double up to Parsons. They're going to double the 0 and work up back to Parsons. Then the right tackle is going to block down on the 3 technique. They're going to kick on Leighton Vander Esch, stand out there in a 5, and then wrap for Curse, who's sitting there as the other backer.
One
Watch
thing
how
I
it
wanna
rolls.
say is they snapped that pretty quick after they motioned Kittle. I thought they
Yep.
would give him a little more time to develop, but it was like he motions and boom, and they got the ball.
Yeah, it's fast motion and it's tight end motion like that. We call that Miami motion, just fast motion where the ball is snapped while he's moving, and you can see it again. Like, look at this thing.
Yeah.
See how they just create windows? Again, they're mismatches across the board in terms of who's blocking who. And the Niners just win. They just have such versatile personnel. They can beat you in so many ways with their run game. It's hard. And again, this Dallas's defense only gave up 19 points. They played really well. And what they did is they didn't allow these 7 and 6 yard plays to become 20 and 25 yard plays
Yeah.
and become explosive touchdowns. That's what you have to do against this Niners team because they are going to get those lanes. But if you tackle really well, like Dallas did, you don't allow them to turn into explosives. You make Purdy drive it down the field and be consistent. You give yourself a chance. So, can the Eagles do this? We're going to watch a play from the game against the Giants in their divisional round win to kind of showcase how the Eagles might handle that, right? So, up front, the Eagles are just going to be in a very similar front to what you just watched, like a 5-man front here, right? Very similar to what Dallas just did. I assume Philly will be in a lot of that. Again, that 3-0-3 front where you're going to have 3D linemen in the interior, 3 technique, 0 technique, 3 technique, then with 2 stand-up 5s. And these are your guys, Sweat and Reddick, right? So I
Yeah.
told you we would be watching a little film on those guys coming back around. The Giants are going to run pin pull, we call boss. So you're going to see
So they pulled
this
up the center.
receiver. Yeah, this receiver is going to block down on the end so that the tackle can pull around him. Then the guard is actually, because he has a 3 technique, um, he's going to try and
Just
hook him
steal.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the center is going to pull around him. So it kind of looks almost wide zone-ish the way that the steps have to be, but it's pin pull, and then everyone else is blocking back. And the tight end here, the fullback, again, he's kind of on that hip position. He's going to block back and kick out on the backside end. And then they're going to try and get a little toss here to Saquon. Now watch, show it again from the behind, but just look at the pursuit. From this angle, you can really see the Philly pursuit. Their defense just flies to the football. That's what they've done really well all year. They get multiple hats to the ball. And when they do that, it's much easier to make tackles in 2-on-1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, show it from here so you can kind of see the angles of the blocking better now for the Giants, what they're trying to do. And again, you get the 3-0-3 techniques, and really he might be in a 4-eye here. So 3-0-4-eye with the stand-up guys on the edge. But again, block down, pull around, reach him, pull around, get back to the 0, reach him, right? Kick back out. So here you go. And these are the 2 guys I want you to watch. Believe this is Josh Sweat right here.
Yeah.
And then 32 for the Eagles. Don't have his name handy right now. But this is the kind of player that, right, he's a DB, but he's playing like a backer for you. He's going to have to play like this in this game against the Niners, right? See his redirect right there? Boom. He recognizes the play. I'm going to get out. Now rewind it back to Josh Sweat. Watch what he does right here. Feels himself getting the down, right? The guy blocking back on him, and he feels the puller and he decides, I'm going to attach myself to him and I'm going to ride with him. And even though his
Yeah.
back turns momentarily, where does he end up? Right where they're trying to run the football and right where he needs to be. And we get the 2-on-1 tackle with those 2 guys I circled and get Saquon on the ground, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly how they're going to have to play against the Niners.
Yeah. 32 is our guy Reed Blankenship.
Okay, Reed Blankenship. Thank you. Sorry, Reed. I didn't have your name handy, but great football play, bro. Because this is a great play on a really good back. And this is what the Eagles defense was doing all night to the Giants. I mean, the Giants are a really good, running football team. Not quite the caliber of, of the Niners. But with that being said, I think certainly provided a test for or the Eagles in the divisional round, and we'll see, if that shows up here in the NFC Championship game. But it's now the time everyone's been waiting for. Prediction time, NFC Championship game. Jody, who you got and why?
All right, so for me, I told you earlier, I was going back and forth. Originally, when I looked at this game, I said Niners, no doubt. Why? I have no clue. That's what came to my mind. I was like, not only do I want to see the Niners in this game, but I think they're taking it. As time went on, looked at the film, I think the Eagles are just too hot. I mentioned two dudes in one of my awards. Like everything speaks to me. The Eagles are winning, but I would love to see the Niners win personally. You know what I mean? So long story short, after my little spiel, I'm going 30-24, throwing it to Philly.
Dude, when I say, so just for everyone listening, Jody and I do not talk about our picks beforehand. We prefer to go on the pod and do it live and have real reactions. When I say we are thinking exactly the same way, I've been thinking Niners for the NFC for weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll read you my notes word for word. I've been expecting the Niners to be the NFC Super Bowl representative for about 5 to 6 weeks now, with my only worry ever being Purdy. But with 2 playoff games under his belt, that no longer seems to be as big of a worry for them as much as just health, McCaffrey and Debo being okay, even though they're in the injury report this week. All that being said, the Eagles came to play on Saturday, and I think they're just a monster that has come back alive at the exact right time. And we've seen how an NFC Championship in Philly can look. I cannot get that 2017 game against the Vikings out of my head. I know those Philly fans, they're going to be wild and crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I don't know what it was, but I was all in on the Niners winning the NFC Championship for 5 to 6 weeks, and I watched that game last week. I came back and watched the film, started thinking about things, and I just did during the week somewhere it flipped for me, and I've got Philly. I'm with you. I have Philly. I just think that environment makes a massive difference, and Philly is built to win this kind of game at this kind of time.
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
I'm with you. I've got Philly 24, San Francisco 20.
Yeah, I will say it sounds like me and you were both in the same boat of it could go either way for sure, but at the end of the day, this is the most right situation we could come up with.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving ahead to the game I'm personally looking forward to. None other Bengals Chiefs at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Mind you, I will be off in time to watch this one, so I'm excited about that. And it's the third time these dudes have played each other. Chiefs versus Patty Mahomes versus Joe Burrow. That's one thing I did write down for this. I could give you some stats from each of those games from those dudes if you'd like, or if you want to get into your stuff, we could do that too.
Oh, yeah, let's go bar for bar right now. Give me your
All right.
first one. I'll give you something too.
All right, so first game of these matchups that they have, we had Joe Burrow 25 for 31, 286 with 2 touchdowns. Patty Mahomes went 26 for 35, 259 and 2 touchdowns. That game ended 31-34 Bengals.
So, Jody, do you remember the last time we had a rematch in a championship game?
No, I don't.
It was the 2010-2011 Patriots and Ravens in the AFC Championship, back-to-back years.
Wow.
Patriots won both years. And the last time before that, it was in the NFC and it was 3 times from 92 to 94, Cowboys and Niners for 3 straight years. So these championship game rematches do not happen often, but history has shown they favor the team that won the first matchup. So, just throwing that out there, like you like to say, just
Quick
take
game.
with that what you will.
Yeah, quick game.
Take with that what you will.
So yeah, second matchup for these two, 27-24 Bengals. Patty Mahomes went 16 for 27, 223 and a touchdown. Joey B went 30 for 39, 446 and 4 touchdowns. Now, those stats sound crazy, but like I said, 27-24 is still a close game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, so far, the way I analyzed these 3 games overall was just seems like they contained Patty Mahomes as best they could, making them do more with the run game than it was him throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's definitely something we'll look forward to seeing this weekend with their front line or their D line, I should say, to be more specific. We got Henderson, our guy Hubbard. It just they've been balling all year. We just love to see it one more time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get them back to that Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think the other thing I don't want us to take for granted is just I think we're witnessing. We got probably the newest version of the Brady Manning,
Mm.
you know, Elway Marino,
Staubach,
Staubach,
Bradshaw,
Bradshaw, like
whatever,
whatever, like
just
just
that
that
version
version
of
of
like
like
these
these
two
two
great
great
quarterbacks
quarterbacks
going
going
head
head
to
to
head,
head,
and
and
we're
we're
going
gonna
to see
see
it
it every year, every other year in the playoffs.
And
And I mean
that's
that's
just
just
awesome.
awesome. It's always good. It's good football. It's dramatic. It's what you want in this environment. And then I also want to shout out again. I kind of said it earlier, but just like the NFC Championship, we've got 2 offensive head coaches, in Andy Reid and Zach Taylor, who have their teams always really well prepared offensively, and then 2 defensive coordinators that are really talented and have been in the league for a while and are experienced in their own right. They've both been around for a long time. Steve Spagnuolo, Lou Anarumo, and I'm really excited to watch the coaching matchup, the chess game of that as well. In this game, that AFC Championship game, I went back and watched it from last year and saw so many things that I kind of forgotten about. That I was like, oh man, that was so brilliant! Like so much going on. So I think I'm really excited to watch because now, like you said, these teams have played each other 3 times in 2 years. It's the 4th matchup in 2 years. They know it's almost like a divisional game at this point. They know so much
Yeah.
about each other. They've played each other so many times. So I just am excited to see kind of how they play that mind game with each other.
Yeah, no, I want to clap it up for you real quick. You've got our guy Lou Anarumo right this time.
Thank
I
you.
know last time I heard you had you're like Lou you know.
Yeah,
You did a good
my
job
bad,
this time.
Lou. My
Yeah,
bad,
yeah,
big Lou.
you did a good job this time getting them right. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, same thing, third outcome. I'll give it to you real quick. Same thing, 27-24. Let's see, 23 for 38, 250 and 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's Joey B. Patty Mahomes, 26 for 39, 275, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. So
Mm.
that one seemed to be that other turnover kept him out the game on that one. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun game for sure, bro. There's no doubt in my mind that it will be a good one, and I'm looking forward like crazy.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it as well. If we get to the keys here, and then we'll get a little film study, we'll get predictions. So, number 1, above all else, how healthy is Mahomes?
Yep.
It's obvious, but it clearly is going to make a radical difference in the outlook of this game. When Mahomes has all of his athleticism, there's nobody in the league that I would take over him.
He's a different
Um,
monster.
when you take part of that away from his game, now all of a sudden I'm looking at Burrow and I'm like, I might take Burrow if you take away Mahomes' athleticism for real, like if you diminish Mahomes' athleticism even, and it becomes a lot more questionable, like which quarterback do you want in this game?
Yeah.
And so I do wonder, how healthy Mahomes is. I mean, the fact that he practiced and there was film of him running around at practice this week, and he seems to be okay. I've never seen someone with a high ankle sprain look so healthy just a few days afterwards. I mean,
No doubt.
so Romo talk about it on the Bills-Bengals broadcast at the end of that game and how hard it is to play with a high ankle sprain as someone who actually did it. And all the stuff he was talking about, we didn't see a drop of it in Mahomes' practice tape. Hey, that was practice film. Who knows how much we can really take that for real? Maybe take it with a grain of salt. But it's obviously going to make a difference in how the game goes, how healthy Mahomes is. Number 2, can the Chiefs generate pressure on Joe Burrow? They had 2 sacks and 7 hits on Lawrence in the divisional round, whereas Burrow was only sacked once and hit 3 times by the Bills. It was just glaringly obvious the Bills could not create pressure. And if you give a quarterback like Joe Burrow time and you don't even get him off his
All day.
spot, and he has the weapons like Higgins and Boyd and Chase,
Jamar Chase, yeah.
you're cooked. They're like, I don't care what you do. Those other guys are going to win, and Burrow's going to find them. You can't and they're gonna gritty on you, no question. Like, so you have to find a way to create pressure on him. Sometimes you may even have to bring extra guys, but I'm not sitting back and letting that guy just carve me up. It's very Brady-like, right? You have to move him off his spot. You have to hit him enough times, and you have to throw different stuff at him. You can't sit and, okay, we're gonna play coverage all game long. Like sometimes we gotta kind of, hey, and go play man coverage and say, we got to take our chances. And if Jamar Chase beats us, so be it. But I'm not doing the death by 1,000 cuts. Let him just throw it down the field, pop, because that's what the Bills did. And the Bills never got pressure. And you saw Burrow dominated that game. So they have to create pressure one way or another. I think Spagnuolo will come with some juice in this game. I think he'll come with some creative stuff. The last one, my question is, who's going to run the ball better? Which seems like a weird question when the game
with
when the
those
game
2 quarterbacks.
yes, it's like, okay, all the focus on Mahomes and Burrow, but that is exactly why you gotta run a ball in the game like this. Like, because you gotta help your defense out. You wanna control the ball, control the clock a little bit, keep the other team's offense on the field. Obviously, you gotta put up points. So that comes before anything. But if you can put up points while also going on 6, 7, 8-minute drives and keeping your defense off the field, letting them rest, let them make adjustments, let them talk about what they're gonna do, and keep that offense over there on the sideline, whoever can do that better, I think clearly has a better chance of winning this game. I went back and looked at the rushing matchups. If you look back at who won it when they won in week 13, the Bengals won the rushing battle this year in week 13. Right? So that is a clear factor in terms of who's going to win this game, who can run the ball better. I think both teams are capable of running the football when they want to. Now, maybe for the Chiefs, it's more of a point of emphasis this week with Mahomes being possibly hampered with the ankle, but I think both teams can do it, and it's going to be critical in terms of controlling the ball, controlling the clock, and not making your defense play so much up and down. So, Jody, any thoughts before we get to film study here?
I will say your first key was Patty Mahomes' ankle. I don't wanna bring this back to myself, but I had a high ankle sprain in high school. Let me tell you, I didn't feel good till literally almost, like, the 6th or 7th day after that injury, and that was, like, I had mobility back where it wasn't hurting as I walked.
Yeah, you weren't 100%. You were like, I'm
Yeah.
back to 50.
Yeah, I was like, I was able to do something if I wanted to, but it was like it wasn't the funnest thing to deal with for sure, and
Yeah.
that kinda ties in one of my main reasons as to why this is gonna be a tough game for them, and them having to rely on that run game a little more. But yeah. No, I think you put it all very well. I agree with pretty much everything. It was just that high ankle sprain is gonna be a key factor of whether they could pull it off or not.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we'll go live here looking at some film. So I went back and like you, Jody, you're talking about, all right, these teams have played 3 times in 2 years. This will be the 4th time. So I went back and looked at the AFC Championship game from last year because I wanted to look at some stuff and figure out what were the Chiefs doing and what were the Bengals doing. And so you look at this is early in the game. Remember, the Chiefs got out to a pretty decent lead in this game, and then the Bengals came back. And so early in the game, the Bengals are doing some different stuff, and this is the TV copy. So you got the TV guys circling different matchups here, right? But you get the Chiefs are
Tyreek.
running a little play action levels concept, right? Where they're going to have Kelsey coming here and Tyreek Hill streak in the back of the end zone. And up front, the Bengals are going to bring 4. They're going to rush 4. and they just don't get home. They don't get any pressure, like whatsoever. Mahomes has all day. And when you give him all day, that's what's going to happen. You give any great quarterback all day like that, that's what happens. He finds guys open. And so the Bengals realized, I think, pretty early on, about the midway through the second quarter as the Chiefs mounted this big lead, that if they weren't going to get pressure on him bringing forward, they had to drop more guys into coverage. They had to switch themselves up. So then you come back and it's later in the game. Now this time, this is 3rd and 6, fourth quarter. It's a tie ball game at 21. The Chiefs are in a little trips open bunch up at the top of the screen, right, with Kelsey leading the bunch and Tyreek by himself down at the bottom. So the Bengals are going to run a too high look. I couldn't tell you exactly what the coverage is without seeing it from the top view because you just can't see how it develops down the field. But they're in a too high look, some kind of too high shell, maybe cover 4, maybe cover 2. But you'll see here the Bengals only rush 3, and they're going to spy with the 4th guy. And they started doing a lot of creative stuff like this, where they said, we're going to spy, we're going to keep Mahomes in the pocket, and if he does break the pocket, the spy can go get him. And what it allowed their rushers to do is rush free. So watch the rushers on the edge, Hubbard and Hendrickson, right? Those guys can get up the field and feel like, hey, if he breaks the pocket, we have that spy guy. If he wants to step up, the spy guy will take care of us. Yeah. And then it allows you to play with the other 7 or 8, if you include the spy guy in coverage. And they get up the field and they just beat these tackles. They meet at the quarterback. And even as Mahomes steps up, they get the sack. So they were doing a lot more stuff like that as the game went, where they were being a lot more creative in how many guys they were sending and allowing Hendrickson and Hubbard to get these one-on-ones and then go win those matchups. And I think that's going to be critical in this game in terms of how Lou Anarumo game plans for Mahomes and whether or not Mahomes has that mobility. Because you see even here, Mahomes goes to step up. Imagine him stepping up on that bum ankle.
Yeah,
right?
well, even then, you see that plant right there. He made that quick. That's his bad angle.
It's a different deal. It's a different deal, and it makes a huge difference in how this game is going to go. Now, you could see right here the close-up view of those guys winning at the top, and Mahomes just can't escape. And if he's limited in mobility-wise at all, that's going to be an issue. So then we come back, and this is the game from this year, Week 13, right? Pretty relevant, only about 6 weeks ago. And this is towards the end of the game. We're talking about the Chiefs being able to get pressure on Burrow. Same thing. Both teams have to create pressure. Well, right here, the Chiefs are going to line up in what we call choke alignment. They're basically in both two eyes, both guys. So they're really in the A gaps. And then 2 edge defenders coming off the edge. And behind it, they're going to run a version of quarters. So they actually make it look like it's cover 3, right? They're showing like a 1 high safety look, but they're going to drop out with this down safety and they're going to play quarters. And what quarters allows you to do is when you get a concept like you're going to get here, we call Omaha, and I'll show you what that's going to look like from the Bengals, where you're going to get the 5-yard out with the vertical, and then down at the bottom, you're going to get the vertical with the little spacing route and the swing route by the back. What that allows you to do is when one of the 2 routes sits down, you can double the vertical with the safety and the corner. So like Jamar Chase, you can take him away on 2nd and 4, like you've got here. So it makes Burrow look away from the guy he wants to throw it. See, he wants to throw to Jamar Chase here, right?
Yeah.
If he was really doing it and the corner has vision so that if he does want to say, okay, I can come off of Chase and throw to Boyd on the out route, he can break on that too. But really the flat defender is the backer, and you're going to double and bracket the vertical with the safety in the corner. Same thing down here. Corner, safety, bracketing the vertical because it's quarters, whereas you got the hook defender, right? The flat defender, I should say. He's going to outrun the spacing route, run with the swing, and now you've got this middle of the field player, this little middle hook player by the backer. He can go play the sit route. So Burrow has to go through all these progressions. He's like, woo, doo, doo. But you also, right as this progression, the one guy who's kind of coming open in the middle of the field there, as the backer's breaking on it, look what they made him do. He had to move off his spot. So all that was Karlaftis up top wins a one-on-one and forces Burrow to break the pocket, and then Chris Jones just makes a ball play. So I'll show you from the behind. You can see what Chris Jones did. Pretty sneaky. So remember when we've talked about games kind of pick and roll for guys? All this was what we call a natural. It's not a planned game. Sometimes it just happens where an edge defender, the nose will feel, oh, he went inside. I'm going to cover for him and go back outside because I know if my guy goes inside and wins, the quarterback is most likely to try and escape out the back door, out the pocket. So Chris Jones is able to do that. Karlaftis is still winning his one-on-one and chasing Burrow from behind. So Chris Jones makes Burrow do what? Oh, I can't go that way. I'm going to try and stop and come back. And as soon as he stops to come back, tries to plant on that inside foot, slips. Karlaftis gets the sack. That was the only time they sacked him, was in that 2-minute drill in the red zone towards the end of the game.
Wow.
They have to create and generate more plays like that. And that was really guys winning one-on-one, and then the coverage being able to take away where Burrow actually wanted to go early. And when you do that and you make him move off the spot, you win a one-on-one, you'll have a much better chance. So, obvious key for both teams. Get pressure on the quarterbacks. Easier said than done, though, when both these O-lines are playing as well as they are.
Yeah, and I would also like to note they're pretty dynamic in terms of being able to get out the pocket, maybe rush for a couple yards. Granted, bum ankle, who knows? But yeah, they're both good at getting scramble yards, picking up a first down on third down or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ultimately those are the two keys. O-line play. Again, I think this one's a no-brainer. I think this one's a no-brainer, considering bum ankle.
Ooh.
I'm going 27-17 Cincinnati.
In Burrowhead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what they've been calling it. He owns them down there. Yeah, I think it's a very wide consensus right now that everyone's rolling the Bengals. I don't know what you got, but that's just what I've been hearing through the Bluebird.
Okay. Through the Bluebird. I like that one. So I don't know what it is. Everything, like you said, everything about this game says you got to pick the Bengals.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like we're going to see a gritty, like really good Mahomes game. I think Mahomes is still mad about that game last year. He had a soundbite a couple weeks ago about like I played like trash in that championship game. I played like the worst game I've ever played or something like that to a reporter.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's still salty about that game and the way it ended. And if you saw the clip of him on the sideline this week telling Andy Reid, no, don't take me out. Don't take me out. Put me back in.
Yeah.
Like, no, this guy was begging. This guy is like, I don't care. My ankle can fall off, coach. Put me in the game.
Yeah.
And I think he wants it. I think he wants it just as much as Burrow wants it. And at the end of the season like this, everybody wants it, right? But I don't know. There was just something I saw from Mahomes. Yeah. And he's 0-3 versus Burrow. And I think they're both so good. He's 0-3 in the last two seasons. He's lost the 2 on the road. He lost the 1 at home in the championship game. He gets him at home again. I just asked myself, is Mahomes really going to go 0-4 against this one team in 2 seasons? Is he really going to go 0-4? Andy Reid and Mahomes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he and Andy Reid, I just think they're finally going to get it done at home, despite the high ankle sprain, despite everyone calling it Burrowhead, despite everyone thinking, oh, the Bengals, everyone's on the Bengals. The Bengals are better when they're the team that's the underdog. I wholeheartedly believe the Bengals love being
that chip
counted out. That's why that they love the coin toss thing. They love that. Then it was sell the tickets for the neutral site against the Bills. They loved that, right? They got to play the underdog. Now all of a sudden they're favorites this week. It's different. They're going in, and Mike Hilton's calling it Burrowhead, and Eli Apple's talking all that mess. And so instead, now they're kind of top dog, and everyone's picking them to win. I just think the Chiefs are like, oh, we're the home team. We're consistently we've been in this spot 6 times in 6 years now.
Yeah.
But everyone's picking them? That's why Chris Jones left his press conference, was it today or yesterday? I'll see y'all in Burrowhead. Like, I don't know. They're just the chip. That's why I'm so excited for this game, because I think both teams have that chip, but I think the Chiefs have a little extra on them. I think Burrow's fully capable of winning this game. Don't get me wrong. I will not. Joe Burr, Joe Shiesty, whatever you want to call him, he's getting to that level of like, don't count him out ever. Do not count him out or go against him ever in the playoffs. But I like the Chiefs defense considerably more this year than last year. I think Spags will do a better job creating pressure. They've got more pieces that can do that and win that 1-on-1 like Karlaftis. And I think this is the week where that Bengals O-line, I just talked about their O-line coach cooking and all those guys stepping up. I think this might be the week where that finally shows up and hurts them. So I'm going to say Cincinnati 27, Kansas City 30. And I'm rolling with an all Kelsey Super Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Eagles and the Chiefs.
Eagles Chiefs. That's what I got.
Quick note. I don't want to go back and forth on this too long, but they did it last year.
I know.
That's all I gotta say.
I know. And I may come back on this thing and regret it. I felt like an idiot watching the Giants-Eagles game. I was all hyped on the Giants. I felt really good about it. I thought the Eagles were trending downward, and then that game went complete opposite of what I thought. Only game of the weekend that I got wrong. And but I felt like an idiot after watching it. I was like, oh, who didn't see this coming? This right. Yeah. So I could totally see Bengals Cincinnati going in and dominating, and Mahomes is actually really hurt, and it's just not the game that you want. And then I'll come back on here and next week and I'll tell you I was an idiot. But I don't know. I just kind of think we're going to see the gritty Mahomes game. I think it's a legacy game for him. It means a lot. And I think he, I don't know. I just think he's going to get it done.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing we agree on is going to be a great game. Great football out in Kansas City.
All right, man. Let's finish this thing off with a banger of the week. I honestly do not remember whose turn it is.
It's you. I gave out my Harry Styles last week. Speaking of which, I got quick note. He's going on tour again. He was at the Forum yesterday.
Oh, okay. For all you Harry Styles fans, I don't know how much of a crossover there is between us and Harry Styles fans, but that exists. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So, man, I hate to go back to the well, but I got another HBO Max show for you.
Is it Velma by any chance?
No, I have not seen that. I haven't watched that, but I've actually got 2, but the one everyone kind of knows about right now that's on their new show, The Last of Us, kind of a post-apocalyptic. It's not quite based zombie per se, but based on the video game. It's really good. They're only 2 episodes in. If you haven't started it, I highly recommend. It's a great watch. But I was listening to a podcast about that show.
Okay.
And they mentioned some other show that they're like, there's some parallels between this and some other HBO Max show that I hadn't heard of. And I was like, oh, I'll go check it out. One of the rare times where I actually took the advice of the people I was listening to and said, oh, they say this is good. If you like this, go look at this. So I did it.
Yeah.
And probably 10-episode series, I binged it in like 3 days.
Dang,
like
so
every time I was every time I got home from work, I took 2 hours before I was going to bed to like watch 3 episodes.
And hour episodes are 45-ish.
They're like 45 to an hour. Yeah. 10 episodes, but unbelievably good. It's called Station 11. So it's about a pandemic. It came out it finished up about this time last year. So it was December 2021 through January 2022 is when it came out. But so it's about a year old. But basically, it's about a pandemic that wipes out. It's the flu. It's literally almost like
It's COVID.
coronavirus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically that, and it wipes out, but it wipes out like way more of the population. It's a lot more deadly.
Yeah.
Yada yada. And this takes place. It goes back and forth between like the early days of the pandemic and what happened, and then 20 years later, where like all these different stories are like kind of coming and weaving together. And I was a little nervous about it because I was like, all right, like coming out of COVID and everything that we've dealt with, am I going to really want to subject myself to this?
Yeah.
But
Little
it
too
was actually,
uncomfortable.
it honestly, they did such a good job of like, one, it was really hopeful. It was not your typical like everyone dies kind of show. And when people did die, it was so meaningful and impactful. Like every time it was like, oh man, what this person did, it did this for these other people, and it actually meant something. It was like every single one of them. And the story writing is based on a book that I have not
Okay.
read, but apparently the book is really good. The show deviates enough from the book that there is some stark contrasts, but honestly, the finale of it and the way it all tied together, I was like legitimately moved. And it like, I don't get moved like that by a lot of like TV or movies or whatever, but I came away going, wow, that was like a piece of art. Like it was really
Wow.
good. I was impressed by it that they were able to take like a pandemic post-apocalyptic type story, and instead of make it the classic survival deal, it was more about like human experience and how art like can really save us, and how it can help be a form of expression. And it was
Yeah.
still dealing with like a lot of the same like interpersonal relationship stuff that we deal with in like our regular world, but just like putting it in that environment and where everything is heightened.
Uh-huh.
I
Great
don't know. I thought
perspective overall is what you're saying.
it was so good. I was really impressed with it. Like I said, it only took me a few days to finish, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. And it was a classic, like perfect miniseries where like it ended and it didn't feel like you needed another season.
Yeah, okay.
It felt like, oh yeah, no, they don't have to do another season, nor would they. This is like perfect, and it's great because it's 10 episodes, so it's very easily finishable. Like you're not
Yeah.
tackling this like 12 season thing that you have to spend hours watching to get. It was like, no, like, you get 10 episodes and 45 minutes to an hour, and by the end of it, you're like, wow, I just feel like I went through a 20-year journey with these people. Yeah, it makes sense, you know? So, and the other thing I liked about it is it treats you like an intelligent audience. Like it does, you know how like a lot of these kind of things will like show you, okay, here's exactly what happened on the TV, and they explain everything to you. Like they don't even tell you really what caused it or what, because that's not really the focus of it.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of things you learn by just like traveling with the characters instead of them like leading you and telling you exactly what's happening. You have to watch it, and like you can pick up on stuff, and you start going, oh, and you make all these connections
So it's
because
all
like I said,
subtle. It's
yeah.
not
So
just
like
like, here's this.
the structure of the show was like they would do like a present day episode and a past episode, and it would bounce back and forth. But the way it was bouncing, what you learned in the previous episode that was like past
Uh-huh.
would like apply to something happening in the present. You'd be like, oh, and there'd be something you watch from an episode 3 episodes before that you could
And
then
it's
like,
still relevant in the
yeah,
next
and you're
one.
like, oh, that makes sense now. That interaction is I look at so differently, because some of it, like I said, they give you like bits and pieces at a time. And early on, you're like, huh? You're kind of trying to make sense of stuff, and you kind of get it. But as it keeps going, you're like, oh, I really get it now. Like, oh, that moment that we experienced early in the show, but now we get to experience it again with all the context that we have. Oh, that's so different than what I initially thought. It was just, thought it was really profound. Thought it was really good. I was
Yeah, that
impressed.
sounds sick. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, Station 11. If you want to invest about 9 hours of time, Station 11, really good watch. I highly
Sure.
recommend.
Yeah, so after that great recommendation that I feel like I'm gonna check out, there's only one thing left to do. Ray,
Yeah.
take us out, my guy.
Let's go. Championship weekend.